Good afternoon, preppers. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thanks for joining us. I always say canned food is by far the best prep you can do. It's inexpensive. The food's already prepared. You can eat it right out of the can if you wanted to without even heating it. I mean, as long as the can's not compromised, it'll last indefinitely. Make sure the seal is good, no rust, etc. And also, you want to be able to store your can so it doesn't go below freezing or above 85. But if you follow those rules, then practically speaking, canned food will last, well, all through the apocalypse. You can enjoy your corned beef hash during those rough times. Now, out of that, there are 5 specific groups of cans that I think are the best thing to store by far. And there's 3 of them that are not so good. So let's jump right into it and see what you want to go ahead and stockpile. Number 1, canned meats. Corned beef hash, one of my favorites. And granted, corned beef hash in itself may not be just meat. It has like potatoes and stuff in it too. But it's a great prep to have. Again, you can eat it right out of the can. It's better warm, obviously. But corned beef hash is good. But that's by far not the only meat. Some people like Spam. I don't eat that. I do eat the canned chicken though. And canned chicken is great, especially when you actually accent it with other stuff, like maybe some rice or pasta, or whatever you have. But I find right out of the can, it may not be the highest grade chicken, but it's chicken, lots of protein and good for you. Ooh, corned beef. Who likes cans of corned beef? That's really good stuff. Sardines. How many sardine lovers are out there? I mean, I'll admit, they gross me out seeing the fish in there, but they are delicious. And as long as I get myself past that grossness of eating fish right out of a can. Or how about canned turkey? Canned turkey is a lot like the canned chicken, except like 5 times as much. It's ridiculous. But I mean, obviously I like to prepare turkey, from, the actual frozen turkey like Thanksgiving or throughout the year. But, just actually having some canned turkey is good, but again, kind of pricey. Then of course, another one that's great as far as canned meat goes is canned tuna. Now, as far as these canned foods, every single one of these I showed you here will last indefinitely as long as the can's not compromised. Now, let's go ahead and pick on tuna. The canned tuna, for example, if you open it up after 30 years, it's going to be practically just as nutritious. I mean, the nutrition level goes down a little bit in these, but it may actually be a little bit more mushy. I mean, you open it now and you get some chunks of tuna in there. It's going to be a little bit more on the liquefied tuna. But there's no bacteria in here. There's no fungus in here, etc. So it can't rot. It can't decay. It can't go bad as long as the can's sealed just fine. So all these different meats, definitely a good thing to have. And again, for us being on keto, we stock up in a lot of meats. And actually, I suggest that if you're stocking up for really rough times, proteins are where it's at anyway. You're going to have your proteins for survival. Number 2, canned veggies. Canned veggies is such a huge thing for the fact that we want to be able to get fresh produce. But I don't know if you know it, the studies show that when you look at, here I just have French style green beans, French cut green beans, the ingredients, green beans and water. Sometimes you'll see like green beans and water and salt put in there, and that salt's just fine. And I know a lot of people don't want to have the extra salt in there because of high blood pressure, and I would not go against your doctor for that. But for the regular Joe, the average American or wherever you're at, having extra salt in there is actually a good thing. You want to be able to have your salt in there, especially for electrolytes. So these things are actually just as nutritious as fresh produce. That may shock you, that may blow your mind, but it's absolute truth. So pick your veggies you like. French style green beans, whole kernel corn. I do like corn. Or how about some sweet peas? And the list goes on and on. All kinds of veggies you can actually pick. And again, since it's in the can and it's prepared in here and it's a sterile environment, these will certainly last, practically speaking, forever. And they're excellent, either just eaten straight. I used to love just eating just a can of corn straight right out of the can. Or again, accent maybe some of the meat you have or other dishes you have too when time gets rough. Number 3, canned potatoes. I could have thrown this in the veggie category, canned potatoes, but potatoes, even though some people think they're not a vegetable. They're a classification all their own, so they have their own thing on their own too. So we get these at Aldi, and when the pandemic hit, I told Ashley, I was like, hey, I wonder how potatoes are in the can. So we actually bought one, and we love them. I mean, we're on keto now, we don't eat them. But if you eat potatoes, these are great because it actually has whole potatoes in there. Again, will last indefinitely. They're really good for things like potato salad and stuff. I imagine you can actually mash them up too. There's not a whole lot in here. But if you're talking about a single person or 2 people together, maybe it'll be enough to make you some mashed potatoes on the side. But having these cans of whole potatoes are excellent. Number 4, canned beans. Oh yeah, beans are awesome, especially we have some Bush's vegetarian baked beans here. Baked beans are just the awesomeness because they actually have all the different flavors and juices already in there. But obviously you can go with more simpler, just some let's see, Lucky's chili beans, or you can get some dark red kidney beans, or you can get some black beans. I'm a black bean fan. How about you? And some light red kidney beans. And again, the beans will last indefinitely in the can as long as the can is not compromised, as we mentioned before. But just to really stress too, over time, the beans and everything will break down. It will be more bean juiciness. You'll still have some bean chunks in there, but some bean juiciness over time. Again, just as nutritious and be able to accent whatever you want. But having lots and lots of beans to add to your diet is really good because they're also high in protein. Number 5, canned soups and chilies. We'll start with chili. In fact, we love Amy's chili. Medium, boring, spicy, delicious. And again, these accent things, so if you actually make some rice during the apocalypse and you put some chili on top of it, especially the spicy stuff, that's really good stuff. This will last indefinitely in the can. Or we can actually go with soups. I don't know about you, but the old adage that you eat soup while you're sick is true. I mean, at least in our family. So I always like to have some soups. These are not the only soups we own, but these are Campbell's. Well, yes, I would like to have some soup. And we picked these ones because the ingredients are, practically speaking, all natural ingredients. And we find a lot of soups actually have a lot of preservatives and stuff in there. But the well, yes, soups are actually really good. We do have some of those smaller, cheapy cans from Aldi that people have, and I couldn't find them. They're down there in our basement somewhere. But anyway, having lots of soups and chilies are good because sometimes you just need some kind of food, especially if you're sick. There's lots of electrolytes in these things. But give yourself a little bit of flavor and variety is really good. So I put soups and chilies in its own category for that reason. All right, so with that, there's the 5 cans I highly recommend. And I recommend you buy a lot of canned food. Now, I have people all the time saying, is your freeze dryer worth it? We love our freeze dryer, by the way. There's nothing better than turning your leftovers into something you can eat later without worrying about it going bad. But it's expensive, $3,000 for a freeze dryer. Do you know how many cans of spicy Amy's chili you could buy with that, or some peas or corned beef hash? You can buy a lot. So I always tell somebody if they really prep a lot, get a freeze dryer. But if not, especially if you're a beginner prepper, canned food is the way to go. Because again, it's already ready to go and good to eat. Now, again, everything I've showed you will last practically indefinitely. But there are 3 categories of canned food that, well, let me explain, they may not be what they're cracked up to be when it comes to long term. Number 1, canned fruit. So let's see, we have some jellied cranberry sauce, perfect for a Thanksgiving during the apocalypse, some yellow cling peach slices from Aldi, and some great value pineapple chunks. All these are, of course, delicious. And we learned the hard way years ago. We're talking about probably 15 years ago when we were actually stockpiling those giant number 10 cans of peaches. We're like, these will last us forever. No, I mean, they will. Let's go ahead and just pick on this can of peaches. This one, I don't think has actually hit the expiration yet. No, a couple more years to go. So they will last in this can for years as it is. This goes until 2025, and we bought it 2 years ago. So it'll last quite a while. But what happens is when it comes to acidic foods, especially fruits, they'll actually interact with the lining in the can. Now, the lining of the can makes it so the food doesn't really touch the metal part of the can, mind you. And we don't have to worry about those kind of things happening. But what happens is it leaches in and makes it, when it's acidic, makes it taste really metallic-y. It's very metallically tasting food. And I'll be honest with you, it is 100% still edible. So this can goes till 2025. I keep it until 2032. That's when the apocalypse hit. I eat my peaches. I may not be smiling so much because the peaches taste a little metallic-y, but they're perfectly still edible. So they still will last forever. That's a good thing. So try to pick up whatever fruits and everything you want to have. But remember, we're talking about being acidic, it will taste metallic. Still edible, but it'll taste metallic because of that. Number 2, canned tomatoes. For that exact same reason. They're acidic. Tomato paste, petite diced tomatoes, or in this case, some more soup. Obviously, I could have put that in the soup category, but since it's tomato soup, it's highly acidic and will actually start tasting metallic-y. So again, works well. But I'll be honest with you, we use these little tomato paste cans, which are the best in the world because you just add water and spices to it, and they will make a lot of sauce for you. These ones expired. Well, this one doesn't expire until 2024. But we've been actually going through some of these that expired like a couple of years ago. Yeah, 2021. They still taste just fine. So they'll actually go long past the best buy date. Well, it's not the expiration date, best buy. Again, may taste metallic-y, but is still edible. Number 3, canned evaporated milk. So I put this in its own category because I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's going on. What's going on with you, evaporated milk? Because it actually is sterile. The actual, maybe it's the enzymes in there, but anyways, there's no bacteria to break it down. There's no fungus or anything in there to break it down. But with evaporated milk, it's interesting. Even though they say it'll last a year, it'll last months after the expiration date, I would not put this into the category of lasting forever. This one goes until 2024 anyway, so it'll last quite a while. A few months after that, but I mean, if you pop it open and it's not milky but now chunky coming out, kind of smells kind of awful, those kind of weird things, I would definitely say maybe evaporated milk at this time is not my best thing to use. So I put evaporated milk into its own category. And again, I'm not sure what's going on there. I assume it's probably the enzymes in there will start breaking it down. So having evaporated milk for a long-term storage is probably not the best thing. Obviously, that's outside this video, but maybe get powdered milk instead. That's some of the things you can do. All right, so there you go. 5 canned foods you do want to get. 3 canned foods, well, maybe not. It's a little bit on the questionable side. But maybe there's some other categories, or maybe there's some favorite canned foods that you love that's actually in your stockpile, in your pantry. I'd like to hear about it. Put them in the comments below. Okay, thank you for watching.